Good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible, visible?
Yes, sir.
Is everything perfect? Okay. So, presuming everything is perfect at your end, so let us start this session. And today we have a very important session, that is philosophical essays. So, one thing we have to make sure that philosophical essays they are being asked every year. Okay, so year by year, what UPSC is doing, they are increasing the number of essays, philosophical essays. They are increasing the number of philosophical essays in the paper. So one thing. Another thing is, earlier it used to be like that there used to be one or two philosophical essays. So we always used to bypass them. But since last 2 years, 2018, 2019, there has been a change in a trend that UPSC is asking philosophical essays in a sectional format. So sometimes section A is devoted to philosophical essay, sometimes section B is devoted to philosophical essay. In any of the scenario, you will not be able to skip this most important part of the examination. So somehow or by hook or by crook, you have to write this essay. Okay, so you cannot earlier till 2017 students used to bypass this, those who are going for mains. But after 2019 examination, bypassing philosophical essay is a suicidal thing to be done in the examination. So that is why over here we'll be devoting like you can say dedicated slots to these kinds of essays. First we'll be seeing what kinds of essays have been asked in the previous years, then we'll be discussing few of the essays from our side, and then we'll also be writing few of the previous year's essays. So this is how, by mix and match, we will be covering the philosophical essays in totality. But I always say that whatever philosophical essay is being asked in the test series, hardly there is any chance that it might get repeated. But in past 2 3 years, I have seen two or three of my essays in the test series, they have been repeated in the examination, or the similar alike question. I'll not say the repetition, I will say the alike question has been asked. So only thing what you have to do in a philosophical essay is you just have to hold the knack of writing this. You just have to hold the perspective, or the exact, you can say, skill of writing this kind of essay. And trust me, this is one of the easiest approach, this is one of the easiest essay writing skill, or you can say this is one of the easiest topic on which essay can be written, that is philosophical essay. So before we start, do you have any specific doubt with regard to philosophical essay? I hopefully every one of you must be having the same doubt, that how to proceed, how to decipher the topic, how to break it into parts, and how to basically continue. So this must be the issue with everyone, I guess. Okay, so over here in these sessions, in this session specifically, I'll try to answer all of these queries. In case something is left at the end of the session, do let me know if you have some specific query. Okay, so uh, also let me know whether this screen is visible to you. Are you able to see the slide? Okay, perfect. Thank you, everyone. So let us start this topic called philosophical essay. First thing, let us see the kinds of questions they have asked in the previous year, in past 5 years. I'll not go for before 2014, because till 2015 only you have 15 essays which were asked in philosophical format. So topic number one, as you can see, that wisdom finds truth. This is very crystal clear. So this was something between Buddha and his disciple. Wisdom finds truth. Whether you have whether what is truth and what is not truth, basically wisdom will tell you. So we will specifically see this essay. then values are not what humanity is, but what humanity ought to be. It is again a kind of ethical perspective. This is nothing but a essay from ethics part. Best for an individual is not necessarily best for the society. 2019, as you can see, one, two, three, four. So out of eight, four were from this uh, year only. Then good life is one inspired by love and guided by knowledge. 2018. Past is permanent dimension of human conscience and value system. People that values its privilege above its principle loses both. Reality does not confirm the ideal, but confirms it. We will see this as well. Joy is the simplest form of gratitude. So over here also, so this was that year, that was the only philosophical essay. So students skipped this. They had this, you can say, privilege of skipping it. Need brings greed. If greed increases, it spoils breed. 2016. Character of an institution is reflected in its leader. 2015. Quick but steady wins the race. 2015. With greater power comes greater responsibility. 2014. So this was very simple. Very simple. Then words are sharper than two-edged sword. Then lending the hands to someone is better than giving a door. Okay. So first thing we need to understand how to write a philosophical essay. Very first uh, aspect or rule which you have to follow in philosophical essays, you have to reframe the topic, because only then you will be able to understand the key criteria behind it. You have to decode it, you have to decipher it, you have to reframe it. Then you have to choose the important keyword. What is the important keyword out of that topic? Then your whole premise will be built upon this keyword. The next is you have to relate it to current affairs, if any, or you can put these kinds of current affairs in anecdote only. Another thing is, while doing this, it will automatically make your essay interesting and captivating. Now comes which of the theme you have to follow, which of the, I would say, perspective you have to follow, aspect you have to follow while writing a philosophical essay. Philosophical essay is only based upon one perspective or one aspect, that is pure exemplification. You have to move forward by giving examples only. Examples is the only savior, sorry, in your philosophical essay. You can only do it through giving more and more examples. The more examples you will be able to provide, the better essay you will be able to write. So this is what is the scenario behind this essay called philosophical. Okay, so let me give you one topic first. When the well is dry, comma, we know the worth of water. Okay, so first thing you need to understand, the statement is when the well is dry, you get to know the worth of water. Over here, this essay is depicting two different scenarios. It can be specifically upon, you can say specifically upon environment. It is talking about the water crisis looming in the country, that the well is dry because you can say you don't have water for drinking, you don't have clean water, you don't have sustainable resources. So now you are thinking about recycling the water. Now you are thinking about how important that water is for life. Or if I say it is nothing, it has nothing to do with environment, it might be, but nothing specific to do with environment. It is an African proverb. It is an African proverb. Now, will you be able to write an anecdote on this or an introduction? Anyone? Okay, you have 5 minutes with you. Just try to draft one introduction in 5 minutes only. Whatever comes to your mind. So, done everyone? Any inputs? Anyone?
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, I would like to start with Greta Thunberg's one quote. Like,
Okay.
I don't want you to be hopeful. I want you to panic. I want you to feel the fear I feel every day. I want you to act. I want you to act like you are youth in a crisis. I want you to act like your house is on fire because it is. And I'll go and tell humanity at present we are our population is taking everything for granted. We are for example, developed countries are taking developing countries for granted, and the rich are taking the poor for granted, like that. And until we are running into a crisis, we are not thinking about it, and we are not going for any remedial action. And through this essay, I will be exploring various dimensions of this, how we are taking things for granted, and what we
Hmm.
can do about it.
Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else? No one? from your side? Okay. So let me see. Let us see. Sorry. Let us see what is exactly is this essay talking about. This essay is nothing but it is talking about acting at the time of crisis, when we can have a precautionary approach, when we can take precautions. Why we always go for cure? But this is what you can see. Just a moment. Okay, so this is what you can see. It is talking about every possible approach. It is talking about every possible aspect where you can take precautions, okay, where you should have taken precautions rather than going for cure. If we'll go step by step, let us do one thing. Let us start our introduction in such format. What can be our best introduction? Best introduction can be, rather than explaining what this is about, you can first start with the recent COVID crisis. Okay, so when there was too much hue and cry across the world, our government were, I will not say sleeping, they were not very much active with this issue. They were like, this is something which is not going to strike India. This is something which is not going to come to India. And ultimately, when it happened, there was a there was a hasty lockdown, which actually impacted the economic activities, which actually impacted the human lives. Okay, and you can see you are not still not prepared for this crisis. So now, when a pandemic has struck the country, now you are discussing about establishing and setting up of hospitals. You're establishing various kinds of clinics. You're establishing various kinds of, you can say, various kinds of aspects through which you can curb you, or you can basically treat this COVID crisis. But before this, you were never prepared for any kind of pandemic. You never had that kind of hospitals. You never had that kind of spendings. So you were least prepared about all kinds of issues. So this is what, that once the well went dry, once people start dying, then you got to know the worth of healthcare facilities. Getting it? Now this is what, look, this can be written in a environmental perspective as well. But what will happen over here, you will be only able to write up till water issues. Okay, so you will be only mentioning the water crisis in the country. You will be only mentioning the water issues in the country, government recent steps with regard to water crisis. So water crisis can be one aspect in this essay, but because you have to write a 1200 word essay, it cannot be the wholesome perspective. Perspective has to be multidimensional. You have to add as many dimensions as you can. So let us start with this. You can see, you can write about the Beti Bachao Beti Padhao 2016 2017, that after so many years, after so many decades, when there is so much of crisis going on in the country, when you can see the ultimate sex ratio is declining day by day, decade by decade. Now in 2020 2015, your government 16 came up with something called Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. Why we are 70 years late in this? Why? Because now the well is going dry, and now we are getting to know the worth of water. Recent rape amendments. Why after 2012 Nirbhaya case, you did every reform? Where were you before that? So this is how you can see steps for environment, all kinds of steps for environment. After damaging environment to the core, after creating so much of nuisance for the environment, now we are basically talking about phasing out of coal based thermal plants. We are based thermal plants. We are basically talking about environment change. We are basically talking about AQI, air quality index. You can see this stubble burning issue, if you can also directly relate with current affairs. So this is what happens is, when you try to relate philosophical essay with current affairs, you tend to get good marks. How? If you see the recent stubble burning issue, this stubble burning issue is only raised in the month of November. What governments are doing for next another 11 months? They are not taking any kind of precaution. They are not distributing any kind of resources to the farmers. When they start burning, only then we wake up and we start shouting environment issues, environment issues. We start shouting AQI, AQI. What are we doing for next 11 months? Because we know this is a agriculture phenomenon which will repeat every 11 months. Okay? Every 12 months it will repeat. It will always happen in the month of October, November. What is your general preparedness with this issue? There is no general preparedness. So what you do is, when the when your well goes dry, when the problem is out of control, then you get to know the worth of water. In case of COVID also, when the problem went out of control, then only our government, government came up with the idea of lockdowns. It came up with the idea of various kinds of mechanism, and right now also they are not prepared with any kind of further pandemic. This is wave 3, wave 2, wave 3, and you are seeing we are still we are still back to square one. Okay, so despite of doing something good, of achieving some good numbers in September, October, November is complete failure in COVID crisis. Then youth. You can also talk about youth. Water conservation, Jal Shakti Mantralaya. You can start with this 2019. Our government, after 75 years of your country, got to know this. Yeah, they basically decided that water resources is one of the most important resource of the country of development. Without water, there will be no life, and without life, there is no meaning of any kind of development you are doing. So now, after 75 years, they dedicatedly put one Jal Shakti Mantralaya for the benefit of the country or the benefit of the humans after 75 years. Yes. Okay. So this is how you can see government basically tries to act and react when there is so much of damage. This is what happened with us in 2001, 2002 also. When the tsunami struck the southern coast of the country, up till then, we never had any kind of disaster resilience workforce. We never had any kind of disaster mitigation workforce. We never had any kind of disaster management workforce. And what happened later on? When the problems strike the country, when there was so much of losses, when there was so much of loss of lives, loss of property, then your government established, then they come up with a disaster management act. They came up with a disaster National Institute of Disaster Management, which was given the powers, or which was given the duty to prepare various disaster resilient modules, various disaster mitigation training programs, so that in case a disaster strikes, we should have a preparedness. So you can say you never had that kind of disaster preparedness in the country before 2001. When that problem happened, when the Bhuj earthquake happened, when the tsunami of 2001, 2002 happened, only then our country started, you can say, building up such resources which will basically in future uh, help us or will mitigate the disaster crisis. Then you can see in case of 2008 terrorist crisis, we never had any kind of national security guards in the southern region. In the western region, you only had one center of NSGs at Gurgaon Manesar. Then after that, government started establishing NSG centers at various parts of the country, so that the quick response can be taken up during such issues. Clear, everyone? Getting it? Getting it? Then, in case of youth, in case of child, in case of women, so over here, what you have to do is you have to make this essay multidimensional. Okay, so there has to be a multidimensional approach. What this will talk about? This will talk about child issues. This will talk about women issues. This will talk about development issues. This will talk about financial issues. This will talk about banking sector, economic issues, financial issues. This will talk about science and technology issues. Okay, so every issue should be supported by a apt argument and as well as apt example. So exemplification is very much important. You have educational issues. Okay, so you can see you have to write all kinds of issues over here. Clear? Then recent media, judiciary, corruption, governance, getting it? Youth. This is the right time to act and react. Otherwise, our demographic dividend will turn into demographic disaster. It will be nothing but no less than a disaster. Clear? Anything else you want to add? So this is what you will do. You will write various kinds of instances, but these instances are not holistic in nature. What you have to do is you have to write the solutions as well. Whatever problems you are quoting, you need to give solutions as well, because in all the essays, make sure that solutions are being properly provided. Only then your essay will be a comprehensive essay. Only then it will have all composite approach of writing. Only then it will be a successful essay. Will you be able to write it now? Clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is how you need to come up with a philosophical essay. Okay. So let us just see what we have already done over here is we have done the reframing of the question. The well is dry. Well means something which is resourceful. Water is the resource. Okay. So water is the resource, and from here you get the resource. So ultimately you have to act, and your action should be based upon you can say urgency rather than waiting for the last moment and then coming up with a solution. Then there is another question I want to put is, it is not the mountain we conquer but ourselves. Okay, so this was yes, there's a question, should we dedicate separate paragraphs for each of these points, and is it by the way we should proceed? What you can do is, rather than dedicated individual paragraph, look, if you have some 7-8 lines to write in every paragraph, you can go with that. But otherwise what you can do is you can always put the topics, because when you will be doing rough work, you can put the topics in thematic formats. Over here thematic format will help. That first, going with the child issue, so all the child issues can be put at one place. Child and women, if you are short of child issue, then child and women can be at one place. Then comes your social issues. Child, women and social can be put at one place. Okay, governance issues. In governance, whether you have generic governance issues or other kinds of issues, let us say women governance issues, can be put at one place. Then comes your economic issues. All the economic issues can be put at one place. So this is how you can divide it into various themes. So themes will help you in writing the essay in a structured manner. So this is how structuring will be completed. Clear? Now you have another topic. It is not the mountain we conquer, but ourselves. Okay, so what you are conquering is not the mountain, but yourself. So you have another 5-7 minutes to draft an introduction. So before drafting this, let me explain the theme to you. It is talking about self conquering. Because when Edmund Hillary, he went to Everest, and after climbing the Everest, when he came back, he was asked by a reporter over there, Ki, how are you feeling? So he replied, I didn't conquer a mountain, I conquer my fear. Getting it? So this essay is nothing but conquering fear and basically achieving something in life. So this is how you need to discuss about this topic. So clear with this topic, you have 7 minutes. Try to write a good introduction, just 50 words, not more than that. Done, everyone? Any input from your side?
So can we start with like how Ashoka changed after the Kalinga War, like how he conquered his own uh, like proclamation to
Exactly.
violence.
Yes, Varun, exactly. This is how you have to start only, in fact. So you have to take up example, anecdote from someone where the person has changed himself, or you can say he has conquered his fear. So this is what you can see. We discuss in ethics also that conquering fear or conquering vices is again a victory for human being. Once you conquer your fear and vices, you ought to be a good human being. So this is what we have to discuss over here as well. So this is again an ethical essay talking about ethics, but you have to write in a essay format rather than in a ethics question. Okay. Yes,
Uh,
continue. Anything else?
can we start with the historic perspective?
Yes, you can. What you are
Like,
trying to, what you want to put?
when we started with the Swadeshi movement, in
Hmm.
India, the situation was very difficult. Nobody was knowing about the ideas of freedom and all,
Okay.
and nobody was willing to fight against the British without taking the weapon. Also, it's a gift to fight against them without the weapon also.
Yes,
But
perfect.
Baba Balagangadhar Tilak
Hmm.
conquered that fear,
Hmm.
and he is achieved in a way that we can fight against Britain
Hmm.
for the freedom
Okay.
peacefully.
Yeah, perfect. Anyone else? No one? Anyone wants to add something over here? Nothing? Okay. So let us start this topic now. It is again a two-dimensional topic. Okay, so it is basically focusing upon the two dimensions. Dimension number one, it is saying that you need to overcome your fears. Okay, so there will be one set of people who have overcome their fears. Then there will be another set of people who are not able to overcome their fears. Okay, so this is what you need to focus upon. This is how you need to focus upon this topic. So let us move back to the that document. So where there I'll be able to give you more examples. Okay. So as you can see, this is, are you able to see this? Is it visible? Okay. So as you can see, this is, just a second, please. So it is talking about it is not the mountain we conquer, but ourselves. Okay. So over here, as I've already told you, the premise of this particular topic is where Edmund Hillary was once he was interviewed by a person, by a journalist in 1953. So he wrote that I haven't conquered the mountain. Mountain remains there only. Everest remains there only. I have conquered my own fear of going to such great heights, going to such heights. So this is how you can see that Hillary has in very precise manner talked about the self control. He has talked about the fear, and after going over there he has also wrote that I have conquered this fear. Okay, so here comes the catch that this essay can be divided into two parts. Part number one is people who cannot conquer their vices, they succumb. Okay, people who conquer their vices, they come victorious. So this is how it is about the victory as well as the defeat. If you'll see another example of Rani Lakshmi Bai, in case of Rani Lakshmi Bai, everyone in the neighborhood, okay, so they were very clear that Lakshmi Bai will not be able to win. She was also sure with the fact that I'll never be able to win. But she was like, if I will also remain in fear as the Sindhyas are, as the other kinds of kingdoms are, what will be the difference between me and them? I am here to conquer my fear of death. Okay, she knew that she might not come victorious or she might not come alive after this whole war. She'll not be able to come back alive, despite of the fact she overcome her fear of death, and she fought till her last blood, so till her last drop of blood. So this is how you can see that story of Rani Lakshmi Bai, the valor, the courage she depicted during that British to the British, is basically where she had overcome her fear of defeat, overcome her fear of death. So this is what how you have to do. This is how you have to start a philosophical essay. First, you have to give an introduction. Introduction can be one-sided, it can be two-sided depending upon the topic. Over here, because it is a two-sided, two-dimensional topic, you can give two different introductions, two pole apart introductions. One will talk about a person who has actually got victory. Another person, let us talk about the CCD CCD founder. Despite of such, you can say that was a huge debt on him. That was 3,000 crore debt on him, but he could have easily sold off his farms and could have paid back. But he was under this impression that these coffee farms are my inheritance. If I am destroying them, I am selling them. So I am doing no justice to my forefathers. And under this impression, he committed Mr. Siddhartha. He committed suicide. So this is how you can see there is another dimension talking about the different perspective. So how it will come? It will come like this. Body, after writing introduction, body will have explanation of the quotation. Here you need to explain what do you understand by the quote. It will be your explanation. It will be your understanding of the quotation. Here you need to mention what this quotation is talking about. So here you can say this quotation is talking about the conquering the fears, conquering the voices, and becoming victorious. Those who cannot conquer these fears will be basically defeated or will basically lose their, they will basically they will be defeated, or you can say they will never be able to come up their fear. So this is how you have to write about the body. Another thing is, next comes the further perspective. So further perspective, you will see that can be divided into two formats. Number one will consist of those examples, or you can say first half of your essay will consist of those examples where people have got victorious after defeating their fear. So you have to become victorious after defeating your fear. Let us say in case of Battle of Saragadi, where 12 Sikhs fought 1,000, 10,000 Afghans. So it was crystal clear from day one that these people will not be able to win. They are just 12 in numbers, whereas Afghans are thousands in numbers. Despite of the fact they fought Buddha Mavira, they overcome their fear, they overcome their vices, they overcome their luxurious lives, or you can say the fear of losing a luxurious life. And this is how you can say Buddha was able to attain nirvana. Ashoka, as you have rightly pointed out, that he basically tried to change himself. His greed for you can say for conquering the whole country, it came to a halt when he basically realized that this is not going to, because what greed is again a kind of vice. It is again a kind of fear, because if I will not win, someone else will basically conquer me. So this is what greed all about. This is what fear is all about. So fear is not that you fear of something just because you're not able to do it. Sometimes fear also pushes you to do in wrongdoings. Why? If you will not commit it, someone else will conquer your territory. This is what Ashoka was thinking about, that if I'll not conquer the India, someone else will conquer me. So this was a fear. So he basically came out of his fear after this Kalinga war, and he from here onwards stopped doing or basically halted all kinds of expansions. Then Razia Sultan, okay, she was the only female in the medieval era. So despite of the fact that she was a female, despite of the fact that she was into the clutches of patriarchy, she never thought of giving up. Ultimately, she came up with a fear that I am the only woman in this whole scenario, and she won. So this is another thing. One thing you need to keep in mind: always writing these kinds of examples, go in historical format, because that will not jumble up the things. It will look a crystal clear essay. It will look a very, you can say, a readable format of essay, because you will go one by one, and that will be nothing but a projection of historical happenings, and that will come in a historical manner. And if you will move in historical manner, you will also be able to write every possible aspect, because you have read history, geography, everything. You will be able to write the possible aspects if you will go century by century or one after another. Then you have Mohandas Gandhi. Then you have Malala Yousafzai, Fogart sisters, Mary Kom, Deepa Karmakar, Hima Das. As you can see, in case of Hima Das, she never had shoes for running. Okay, once upon a time, she wanted to buy Adidas shoes, and she never had that money. She begged that money. She bought that money, borrowed the money from someone, and then she bought the shoes. And today you can see that Adidas is having Hima Das specific signed shoes. Okay, so this is what, if she couldn't have if she was not able to overcome the fear of poverty, she was not able to, if she was not overcoming the fear of you can say fighting, she would not be the Hima Das you know today. Deepa Karmakar, okay, so again she was an Olympian, and this is how, despite of all the hardships, all the poverty, all the issues she had faced in life, she became victorious. Mary Kom, despite of all the hardships, she became victorious. Usain Bolt, there is a very famous case with Usain Bolt. Once upon a time, Usain Bolt, when he was practicing the race, he was practicing this marathons at his village. So he never had money, in fact, not to just buy shoes for any kind of gear. He used to run naked. He used to run barefoot, and people used to make laugh of him. Ki, what are you doing? You don't have money and you are wasting your energy. Rather than go and work on fields and earn some money for your family, earn some bread for your family, you don't even have food to supplement your day-to-day exercise. You're doing so much of exercise and you don't have food to supplement that. Everything will go into vain. And you can see this man became the fastest man on earth, just because he overcome his fear of failures. He overcome his fear of poverty, and he became the fastest man on earth. Same goes with Milkha Singh, fastest man in India. So this is how you can see that time and again there have been many issues, many crises, which have stopped the human from reaching their goals, from testing their limits. But if you will set aside these kinds of fears, you will be able to reach the goal in a very fine, in a very easy way. We have already discussed one example of Mr. I just forgot that IPS. I told you that day, I guess, from your state only. Have we discussed? Not P Vijayan. No, no. The one who was caught in cheating. He was from your Trivandrum.
Safir Kareem.
Safir Karim, yeah. So we have discussed the Safir's case that day. I guess we have discussed Safir's case.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you can easily, because he can be the failure part, because up now comes the failure part. So he can be that failure part where he could not overcome his fear of losing the examination, of basically, I'll not say losing, he could not overcome the fear of rejection. Okay, so he was like, if I will get rejected, what I'll be of no use. My life will be of no use. And what he did, he committed a mistake. He committed a crime in that whole issue. Then you have some positive aspects. LPG reforms, as done by Manmohan Singh. Manmohan Singh was challenged time and again that will you be able to hold this? Will you be able to take this up? So what happened one fine day? Your PV Narasimha Rao, he called up Manmohan Singh, and he was at his home in Lodhi colony. He asked Manmohan, I want to see you. Can you be at my office in next 15-20 minutes? So Manmohan Singh was like, okay, I'll come. So he took a taxi and he reached Parliament House. He reached PM House, PMO, and where he was briefed about these kinds of crisis country was facing, though he was aware about the fact. And Mr. Rao asked him, will you be able to take India out of this? So he could have said, why would I take this? I'm not a political man, because this is the political failure. why I will be inducted in a political format to do all these things. You can take some kinds of, you can say, uh, you can take some kinds of suggestions from me and implement it, because he was directly told, if victory will be there, your name will come. If failure will be there, you will be responsible. So ultimately he came out of this fear of failure. He was like, okay sir, I'll take it right now. You just appoint me, whatever you want to do, in a way you want to do, I'll take up these reforms. And you can see we are still known for that. We still discuss these reforms in our economic history. Isro, as you can see, happened to be very late entrant in satellites launching. Okay, despite of being from a country like India, where you have very low budget, you have low spending on S&T. Despite the fact, is now one of the best organization in the world. Nuclear test by India, where Indira Gandhi was time and again, she was time and again told by her you can say her cabinet, as well as the various the forces in the country, that if we'll do any kind of test, we are going to get so much of uh, we might face isolation, we might face any kind of embargoes in our on our economy. And ultimately what happened, she never took that seriously. She had one goal, that is to test the nuclear bombs in our country, and she did it. And once she did it, none of the country was able to hold us in a you can say, though there were some embargoes, there were some kinds of sanctions upon our country, but they could never do in the way they wanted to do. So this is all you can see, that the ultimate fear of isolation, ultimate fear of international politics could not hold Indira back, and she ultimately tested the nuclear bombs by her will. And this is how she depicted the word that we are no backward now. Okay, you cannot count us in a backward nation. We are also a nuclear nation from 1974-75 onwards. Okay, so this is how you can put these examples in a chronology. So chronology will always help you. Then you can come with the recent examples where people have performed well, where institutions have performed well, where we have exemplified the best out of ourselves. Then the opposite side of the quotation. I've already discussed about the CCD founder. Then you can talk about the human nature, where corruption overtakes you. Okay, you are into services and corruption overtakes you. Ultimately, what happens? Your services become, or your job becomes futile, and because of these kinds of negative impacts upon your mind, you tend to do so much of corruption. You tend to engage into malpractices. So this is what, you are not able to conquer your vices, and when you are not able to conquer your vices, you are going to get a defeat very soon, as you must have seen in case of Rama in Mahabharata also. Then when Lord Sri Krishna, he went to Duryodhan, he wanted Duryodhan, that Duryodhan, you should make a peace with us. This is, I guess this is the best thing for humanity, because if there'll be a war, humanity will be defeated. There'll be so much of losses, there'll be loss of life, there'll be loss of humanity, there'll be loss of trust. So everything will be defeated at that time. And you can see Duryodhan, he basically tried to portray that I am someone, who he could not hold his vices, he could not hold his desire of that property, or you can say of that power. And ultimately what happened, he got defeated. So this is how you can see when you fail to foresee, you fail to foresee what you are aspiring for, you fail to foresee that what should be the objective of your objective of achieving something. Okay, what is the objective? Ultimate objective is you want to win, ultimate objective is you want to serve, or ultimate objective is that you want to do corruption. So if you're not able to find that ultimate objective, you are going to lose sooner or later. Okay, so this is how you can see it happened with Duryodhan, and ultimately he got defeated. And till date, we always quote him, we always relate him with a negative example. We always quote the other side of the story, where you have the Pandavas as a positive example. Okay, so this is how you can see you need to conquer your will, you need to conquer your vices. Then you have crimes. All the crimes are are resulting are a resultant of nothing but a negative approach of life. Okay, everyone wants to become rich in a quick way, everyone wants to earn so much of money, everyone has so much of desires. Okay, so bad desires are there, or lust is there, and that ultimately results into committing crimes, because you're not able to hold your lust, you're not able to hold your desires, you're not able to hold your vices, and ultimately what happens, you tend to do something bad which is not good for humanity or for yourself as well. Alexander wrote one thing when he died. Alexander had that, you can say, he had that negative desire, he had that lust, or he had that kind of, you can say, I would say, in a better word, that will be, he had that kind of senses that he will be able to conquer the world, and there is no one in the world who can defeat him, because he is the ultimate superior person. He has that ultimate power to conquer everything, and his desire to conquer the world, basically, though he won so many areas, he won so many countries, he won so many territories, but he could not conquer his own desires. And ultimately, he ultimately, when he died, he wrote one thing, that Alexander conquered the world except conquering himself. I could not conquer my desires, I could not conquer my negative feelings, I could not conquer my dishonesty, I could not conquer my deceiving nature. I conquered everything in the world except myself, and this is what my fate is. Today I am dying. Okay, so he was visiting he was visiting India. He was trying to conquer. He was trying to fight on the western frontiers of India, and ultimately he had got some kind of fever at something where he died. So this is how you can see, despite of having everything with him, he could not enjoy anything. Why? Because he was on the you can say, on the role of conquering everything now and then. And ultimately, when he died, he wrote that I conquered everything except myself. So this is how you can see, you need to conquer yourself. Only then you will be able to come up with a better life. You have Pablo Escobar, you have so many examples over here. So all the negative examples can be put here. Clear? Now comes, okay, so this was one thing, this is another thing. Now you have to give the solutions as well. If someone is not able to conquer their desires, if someone is not able to conquer the vices, what is the solution to this? So over here, you need to talk about the idea of emotional intelligence, where you need to have emotion plus intelligence. You need to have idea of right thinking. Okay, so here you can always write what are the solutions to this. Solution is eat, where you have right emotions, right attitude, and right thought. If you have right emotions, that will converge into right attitude. If you have right attitude, automatically your thoughts will be right, and you will always do good. So this is how you can talk about the Buddha's perspective of life, where he was like, our whole journey of life is nothing but minimizing our dukh. And what that, and how that can be done, by actually going for wisdom, actually going for truth. Okay, so this is how you can talk about the ultimate solutions. So right kind of emotional intelligence, right kind of attitude, right kind of thought building process, right kind of actions. So this will ultimately bring best out of us, and we will be able to seclude ourselves from the, we will be able to you can say, corner ourselves from the vices. And when we will be able to you can say, detach ourselves from the vices, we will be able to live a very happy life. And then comes the conclusion. Conclusion can be, it can be another quotation, it can be just a mere conclusion from the above topics, because over here no visionary perspective is to be given. Okay, no visionary perspective is to be given. You can directly write any of the quotation, you can directly just sum up with the with the points which you have discussed above. So conclusion can be, because as said by Dalai Lama, ki to conquer oneself is a greater victory than to conquer thousands in a battle. To conquer oneself is the noblest task. To conquer oneself is the greatest achievement of human life. So this is how you can conclude these kinds of topics. Clear, everyone? Any doubt? Yeah, Jayant, what kind of question you're trying to pose? Can you please state the question?
So the question may be like a quote or anything.
Nay, this is what I'm asking. What question you're trying to pose? Look, if that question is it, if it give rise to another question, so that has to be answered. Okay, so better is like if you have a question which in itself answerable, matlab which in itself is an answer as well. So that can be done. If you're just posing a question ki whether we'll be able to achieve this thing, whether we'll be able to do this thing, so that gives a kind of negative impact to the examiner. Ki you have left the topic unanswered. So conclusion should be answer of everything. It should be the crux of everything you have discussed above in a philosophical essay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so you have to, if that question itself is a crux, so that is fine. If it is just posing another question, so then you have to give the answer as well. So likewise, your conclusion will never end. Your topic will never end.
Sir, how do we like connect all the two three examples like especially the ones from like similar time period? How do we connect two three examples?
For these kinds of, let us say, connection, what you can do is you can move one after another. Okay, you can discuss, because this is what these kinds of topics are open ended in nature. Okay, but try to move in a historical perspective. Try to start with the earliest first, then second, then third, then fourth. That will automatically establish a connection, because such kinds of essays are open ended in nature. But still, I always say move in a historical perspective, so that will give clarity to you and the examiner. You will not forget anything.
Okay, sir.
Any other doubt? Then there was another question few years back, 2 3 years back: crisis faced in India, moral or economic? This is India specific topic, so this had some kind of philosophical approach, some kind of ethical approach, some kind of political approach. So this topic consists of every kind of approach. So you have another 5 minutes. Try to write just introduction. Then we will discuss this. Done, everyone? Any input?
Hello, sir. Sir, the like for can we go with the example like a PDS system we went for ensuring economic efficiency and the policy efficiency we went for the biometric system and some people like couldn't have access to it and they because of the technical difficulties and they died out of because of poverty and the moral responsibility of the state kind of failed here.
But it is like more like state has a legal responsibility. So
Yeah, okay, sir.
try to frame something which basically depicts both economic and moral. Just what you can do is you can just twist it and say कि where state has both legal and moral responsibility in saving the mankind. Okay, despite of their governance failure, people are basically getting killed. As you can also put in the other format regarding the economic crisis. The economic crisis in, you can say, farming sector is basically bringing the farmers to suicide. So that is another a moral crisis being faced in the country. Okay, where people are just committing suicide. So suicide is a moral issue. Okay, though there is certain kind of misgovernance in the from the end of the government, and ultimately which is resulting people committing suicide, or you can say government failed duty, or where they have failed to do something, is actually resulting into suicide of the farmers. So this you can talk about, you can link that economic crisis results into moral crisis results into economic crisis. Okay, so there is a cycle of crisis going on.
Sir, can we connect this with the education?
Yes, in what format you want to connect?
If we consider the other states and all,
Hmm.
as per the NCRB data, that the crime rate is less
Hmm.
compared to the states which has better education system.
Yes, exactly. So this is how you can see the kind of education we are delivering to our children is basically deciding whether India is going to be the moral or the immoral nation. Okay, or the other side, if you can see, if you have a better education delivery format, less crime is being witnessed in those states. So this is again a good introduction. What else?
Sir, I was thinking, like one of the reasons for India's sluggish growth is like high NPA.
Hmm.
So it would appear that it is economic problem, but the underlying reason for this high NPA is willful default. So
Uh,
that is actually a moral
yes, exactly.
crisis.
Yes, exactly. Because you can see when these kinds of loans were disbursed, so it was very clear from day one that they were illegal as well, and because the person who has disbursed them, the bank officials, they were into some kind of uh, you can say collusion, or you can say into some kind of they had some kind of collusion with one another. They have conspired against the system or against the governments. This can be written. What else? Okay, so I guess now you have got the complete idea. So you can write about the rising crisis in the country and the failure of youth. On one side, job losses going on. Other side, immoral activities, or you can say the loss of morality from the youth is being witnessed. So this is how you need to address these kinds of topics, where you have to talk about two issues hand in hand. So if there is a moral crisis, it will ultimately bring economic crisis. Whenever there is economic crisis, it will result into moral crisis. So this is called as causation theory, where one causes another. One is the reason of another. So this is very much practical everywhere across the world. Let us talk about, you can see, let us talk about children. So if you will see, or in general growth, low growth rate, high inflation is existing in the country. So this will result into lack of industrial development. Lack of industrial development will result into low income generation, unemployment. When there will be low income, there will be poverty in the society. When there will be poverty in the society, there will be delinquent behavior in the society. When there will be delinquent behavior in the society, there will be crime in the society. When there will be crime in the society, there will be again low growth in the society. Society will not be able to sustain for long. So this is how you can see it started as an economic issue, ultimately cultivated as a ultimately it it basically resulted into a moral issue, and then finally that moral issue finally converged into a economic issues. So this is how you can talk about various cycles. Let us say in case of patriarchy, there is patriarchy, inherent patriarchy in our society, that results into low workforce of women, that results into low income of women, that results into poverty of women, or you can say a feminization of poverty, that results into underdevelopment, crisis of for women, and ultimately when women will remain underdevelopment, there will be reinforcement of patriarchy. So this is how you can see moral results into economic, economic results into moral. So this is these kinds of aspects you have to build. Then you have child issue. If you can see in case of child as well, low education, low quality education, as you have rightly discussed right in the introduction also. Low quality education for child. When there is low quality education or no education, it can be low or no education. Lack of moral values, lack of economic skills. When he doesn't have economic skills, he became a just a laborer. Okay, he is always engaged into blue collared, low paying jobs. When there is blue collar, low paying jobs, he's never able to pay his bills, or he's not able to, not just bills, he's not able to buy food for the family. That results into delinquent behavior, that results into unproductive assets for the nation. Though there are laborers, but they are not productive for the nation. Burden on the nation. That results into low GDP, low expenditure, low GDP, low growth, high crime, and that ultimately results into, you can say, a society which is completely destroyed, and society which is completely destroyed will reinforce low quality or no education in its upcoming generation. Okay, so this is how a prosperous society will result into a prosperous nation. You can say destroyed society will result into a destroyed nation. Clear? Then you have to highlight all the issues. These issues should go hand in hand. Caste discrimination, religious issues, women, juvenile, environment. On one side, you are talking about economic development. Other side, you are missing out on environment. So you need to come up with a social sustainable development. So this is how both will go hand in hand. Low growth, jobless growth, corruption, mechanization of work. So these are all crises being faced. The current crisis is the religious crisis in the country. Okay, so this all love jihad scenario. So this is what it is creating. It is creating a kind of immoral society. And this immoral society will ultimately, you can say, it will further stratify the society. Society which is now stratified on caste lines, it will also stratify, it is also stratifying on religious lines. So there will be dual stratification, and this dual stratification will weaken the economic system. And when economic system will be weakened, ultimately the moral system will be weakened. I'll give you one story. What happened? There's a famous town in Uttar Pradesh, that is Muradabad. It is basically a Muslim-dominated village, a Muslim-dominated district. And what happened is, it is also known as one of the best handicrafts manufacturer of the world. Brass manufacturing unit it has. So handicraft manufacturing unit it has. Most of the manufacturing is being controlled by the Hindu families, whereas all the artisans which are employed by the Hindus are Muslims in nature. So this dyeing art is being practiced by Muslims, sold by Hindus. So there is a kind of convergence. There is a kind of relation between two, where both know that will not be able to exist without each other. Hindus know that we will not be able to exist without them, because they are the artisans, they are the main producers, and they know they are the one. Muslims know Hindus are the one who will give us good value for these kinds of artisans. So we are also dependent upon them. So despite of that Babri issue, despite of that various Godhra issue, despite of various issues in the country, various Hindu-Muslim riots in the country, this city never saw any riot after 1974. Okay, Babri was such a major issue of that time in Uttar Pradesh, where Meerut, Bareilly, every neighboring unit, every neighboring city saw a riot. This city was devoid of riots. But what happened in 2009? There were riots in the country, in this city. Why? Because after 2007, or the global crash of 2007, lessened India's exports. Okay, and ultimately, when India's exports were lessened, so automatically these goods remained no more in demand. When they remained no more in demand, there was a kind of disharmony between these two groups, which was harmony due to economic instances converted into disharmony because of economic failure. And this is how you can see that economy of this city was able to harmonize the relations, and the loss of economy of this city disharmonized the relations, and ultimately, out of nowhere, out of no reason, riots happened in this city. And after that, every 2 3 years there is a minor or minuscule kind of riots. Up till 2017, there were so many riots in minor format, or in a very, you can say, lesser gravity. But ultimately, because of the loss of economy, loss of business, the harmony which was maintained into two religious communities was broken up. So you can see economics was one of the reasons to ensure a sustained harmony between two religious groups. Okay, and now loss of economy is resulting into loss of morals. Getting it? Then you have to write the solutions. Ultimately, as I've already told you, despite of a philosophical topic, you have to give solutions as well. Solutions it can be from government side, it can be infrastructural, implementational, administrative solutions you have, judicial solutions you have, attitudinal solutions you have, role of value-based education, discipline, sensitization, skill-based education. So this is how you can come up with a final conclusion. Clear? Any doubt? Have we discussed dreams which should not let India sleep? Have we discussed this topic?
No,
Dreams which
sir.
should... Okay. So this was also asked, I guess, in 2016. Dreams which should not let India sleep. So this is an all approach, philosophical or otherwise. So everything is included in this. So you have 5 minutes just to write an introduction. Done, everyone? An input?
Sir, can we start with the Martin Luther King's speech,
Okay.
1964? I
Yes.
have a dream with
Yes.
the equality.
Exactly. In fact, that
Uh,
year, many of the selected candidates used this King Martin Luther's speech only, that I have a dream. Okay, so his dream was about whatever. Like now, you can add your words as well. Yes, please continue.
and we can add some other points also from our dreams of our visions of APJ Abdul Kalam, sir.
Yes, exactly. So, as
Which
you can see, this topic talks about all the you can say issues, all the happenings in the country, all the issues in the country. So this is very holistic topic. Okay? Very multidimensional, very holistic, and it will incorporate every important or every possible perspective. So when you're writing this, how you can start with that. If you have a certain dream, you can pose that, but you know that India's dream are nothing but when we are talking about India's dream, we just have to talk about the preamble. Okay, so whatever is written in the preamble is nothing but achieving that is an Indian dream. Okay, so here you can also write an introductory, write a conversational introduction between Gandhi and you, that Gandhi came into my dream. So here we discussed about what India's dream should be. So India's dream should be where you have justice, liberty, equality, fraternity, all these dreams are. Or you can say, Tagore's speech also is there, where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free and the world has not been broken up into fragments. India has not been broken up into fragments. Technology exists without tradition, where no one goes to bed hungry, where everyone has healthcare facilities, where everyone has access to education, where everyone has where everyone is out of the clutches of poverty, where there is no violence in the society, there is communal harmony in the society, where justice is being delivered by the nation, where liberty is being ensured by the government, where equality is being practiced by the people, where fraternity is being ensured by the constitution. This is what I dream of. This is what my India should look like. Okay, so this is all: national unity, women's safety, harmony. So what you can do is in introduction only. Over here, introduction will be a bit long. Okay, you just have to give in points what are the crises and the issues being faced by India, and overcoming these crises and issues is nothing but you should dream of for India. Okay, these are these crises should never let India sleep. So when it says India, that means that you are not able to sleep unless India attain all these, or India is able to solve all these crises. Clear? Will you be able to write this now? Social well-being, inclusive growth. So these are all topics which you can discuss about. Then hostile borders, trade deficit, economic issue. Over here, the aspect, the method you have to use is social issue, political issues, political crisis, economic crisis. Okay, then you have science and technology issues. Then you have developmental issues, environmental issues. Every crisis. This is the most holistic essay. This will ultimately be, you can say, a fodder for every, let us say, essays on environment issue. You'll be able to write essays on science and technology. So here I would recommend you to write this essay, write this topic, and submit it to me. Okay, will you be able to write it now? Around 900 words. This is your assignment. Once classes are over, this is your assignment. I'll be correcting it. So you have to submit as soon as possible once the classes are over, most probably by tomorrow. Clear? So this is an holistic essay. Now, after mentioning all the issues, again that same format, mentioning government steps, again challenges, and then solutions. Over here, what you will be doing is, because you are discussing various topics, social issues, government steps, government and solutions to the social issues. Now come political issues, government steps, political solutions, economic issues, solutions, issues, challenges, solutions, issues, steps, solutions, and then a final concluding remark that if all of these are achieved, ultimately, this is what we have dreamt of India. Or you can say, this was the dream of our Constituent Assembly, and this is the same dream we have for India 2022, or India 2030, or India 47. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then there's another topic. So this is how you have to write. There's another topic. I'm just coming up with that. That was asked in 2000. Customary morality cannot be guide to a modern life. This is the topic. Customary morality cannot be a guide to modern life. This is a previous year question. You have 5 minutes. Just try to draft 10 minutes. I would say this is a bit tough. Just try to draft a good introduction. Done, everyone? Any input?
So I was thinking of like a fictional story of a girl who wanted to like go abroad and study or like become a pilot or something, but due to customary morality of her parents, like she was not allowed to, and told not to work. So customary morality hence cannot like be a guide to modern life.
Okay. What else?
Like I have
Sir,
written about the
with respect to
present condition of women
Okay.
who are dreaming a lot, but because of the some customary morality and all, they are not able to achieve their dreams.
Okay.
And we can take the case of LGBT community also.
Hmm.
They are facing so much of discrimination from the society because of the name of this morality.
Okay.
That is.
Okay. Look, this topic is again two-dimensional in nature. What you have to do in such topic, you just have to reframe the topic and write customary morality cannot be a guide to modern life. They are asking this. Okay. What you need to do is you can reframe it like this: can customary morality be a guide to modern life? The question comes, yes or no. What it will be, yes or no. Anyone?
No, it cannot be.
It is both yes and no at same point of time. Okay. Let us say on one side we have this Sabrimala issue, customary morality, and modern life says there shall be equality. Over here, you can say yes, customary morality cannot be guide to modern life. There was another instance that, let us say, if you are aware about this Chhat Puja, which is being conducted or being done by the Bihari community and the Eastern UP community. So it was conducted day before yesterday only. So during this Chhat Puja, they have this concept of emerging the idol, the god idol, or you can say that the Ganpati Visarjan. So they have this immersion, this concept, and this immersion usually creates environmental crisis, environmental issues. So what people did in yesterday's or in since past 2 3 years, what is happening? They are creating home-based tanks only. Okay, they are not whatever you can say substance, whatever uh, things they have to immerse, they are doing in their home only. They are not polluting the river. They are using their home-based tanks. They have constructed that tank, take a small tanks, and they are doing all the immersions, idle immersions in this only. So ultimately, what is happening? So the whole water of that river is not getting polluted. So people are doing at their home, and then they are recycling this water. They're throwing this water in the fields, and that is being going down into the groundwater. So this is how you can see customary morality is there, but on the same time, modern lifestyle is there. At many places, customary morality can be a guide to modern lifestyle. Why I would say this? Because customs usually teach us certain aspects and perspectives which basically makes us a good human being. Because you have certain customs, all customs are not bad, few customs are good as well. Can any one of you name any of the custom from your state which you are still following despite of being a modern person? On one side you have modernity.
Onam, sir. Onam celebration.
Hmm?
Onam celebration.
Sorry.
Onam celebration, sir.
Onam celebration,
Yeah.
exactly. Okay, so that is a custom. You are doing it, you are enjoying it, and now you are doing it in a very modern lifestyle, modern way. Let us say respecting the elders, touching feet of elders, taking blessings from elders. Modern lifestyle says, oh, not required at all. Custom says no, required. Now also it is required. So you will get less examples on this side where customary morality is a guide to modern life. More on this side where customary morality, because most of the customs are, look, what are customs? Customs can be beliefs of that time, okay, which are now, you can say, which are now used, which are now being used in the society to curtail someone's liberty. This can be one thing, or to ensure that there is good lifestyle, there is morality existing, there is truthfulness existing, there is fear existing. So this is how custom can be better, it can be good, it can be bad in both the ways. So over here we'll be discussing about few topics which you will see which are like a point of convergence and a point of divergence. On one side, customary morality is basically creating a point of convergence where modern lifestyle and customs are going hand in hand. On the other side, you can see it is a point of divergence. In most of the cases, it is a point of divergence. So let us start with this in this way. There was a I drafted the introduction that little Archana was perplexed about what she was told in school. We should always do right and moral things. Her curiosity about question why we need to be moral led to perplexity that when she asked it from her grandfather, so everyone had a different perspective. When she asked it from her grandfather, he told, we need to be moral because our religion says so and our ancestors taught us. On other hand, her father in a reply to same question said, we need to be moral so that there is happiness all around. Modern day, whereas brother says modern day temples, that is multinational companies says that he doesn't know what is right, what is wrong. Only thing is which work out for yourself, which basically works for you. You should use it. So this is how you can see the idea of morality is changing from person to person. So first thing you need to understand what exactly is the idea of customary morality. Okay. So first thing you need to tell that customary morality is something which has been into practice since long. Okay. So on one side you can see there is custom. These customs are now outdated. These customs are now still you can use them. So over here, you can talk about all the dated customs, Devdasi concept, Sati concept, child marriage concept. It can be custom of one tribal theft. Okay, so in case of there's a community in Gujarat and Rajasthan where theft or crime is very much part and parcel of their custom. It must be their customary morality, but it is not a guide to modern life, which talks about a legal order to be created, which talks about proper order to be created. So this is how you can see what exactly is customary morality and what is the idea of modern life. Customary morality, which basically helps us in deciding what is right, what is wrong, whereas that customary morality, if it fits in today's lifestyle, it is fine. If it does not, in most of the cases, there will be a point of divergence. There will not be much convergence. In case of women issues, patriarchy, in case of LGBTQ, in case of sati system, in case of divine rights, in case of religious, you can say rituals, in case of LGBT, we have already discussed this. In case of political sphere also, you can see that on one side, customary morality, the government are using religion in the name of customs. This is something wrong for the country. In case of democratic values, in case of every aspect, customary morality will not lead to a modern lifestyle. Economic discourses also, customary morality will not lead us into a proper, you can say, in a developed economy. Many times what happens due to our customs, our rituals, our practices, our country remains backward. This is how you need to write every custom which is basically pushing us to the backwardness. Then there are certain customs which are also pushing us to a you can say a progressive society where you have a custom of society, where you have a custom of doing together, where you have a custom of communitarian approach. Okay, this environmental problem needs a communitarian approach, and your custom tells us that you have to do certain things in that communitarian level. Our customs are never individualistic in nature, they are more social and you can say family type in nature, where you can say our custom tells us that you should take care of your parents. Okay, so this is how you can see that it is a guide to modern lifestyle also, that people might be living abroad, they might be living far from their places, from their hometowns, but whenever you can say a festival comes, let us say it is Diwali, or it is Onam, or it is any festival, whether wherever you are living, you tend to go back to your home for certain holidays. Why? Because your custom tells us that these festivities are to be celebrated in a communitarian manner. So this is how these customs also unite our society, unite our family, unite our country. So it basically gives rise to a unified behavior. Then many customs tells us that no, environmental degradation should not be there. Okay, so this is how you can see ki we basically worship many plants, we worship many trees. So customs tells us no, this is a important tree not to be chopped off. This is something important phenomenon of geography. It can be an important phenomenon of nature, but for us it is a kind, it is mother earth, it is a forest, rain is very much important for us. So this is how you can see these customs time to time tells us that we need to take care of environment as well. Getting it? And then at last what you have to do is you have to tell them that there has to be a balanced lifestyle, there has to be a balanced format. In case of cleanliness also, cleanliness is a part of custom. You don't go to temple without taking bath, you don't go to temple dirty hands, you always wash your hands. So ultimately you can see there's a kind of custom. You're going to mosque as well, so there's a process of cleaning up your body, cleaning up your hands, cleaning up everything. Okay, every like open uh, part of your body, every open skin of your body has to be cleaned up. So this is how you can see this custom of cleaning up ourselves before going to before visiting to a religious place is again guiding a more modern lifestyle of or it will make this Swachh Bharat Abhiyan a successful scenario. Getting it? Any confusion? Then there was another topic which was asked that year only. The past is a permanent dimension of human conscience and values. Again, this topic can also be divided into two formats. That past is a permanent dimension of human conscience and values. Now it depends upon you whether you act in a sane manner or you act in an insane manner. That depends. Okay, whether you are into a right direction or you are into a wrong direction. So over here, there is an example of Lakshmi. You must have come across the movie Chapak, where an acid attack victim had a she never had a good past. Okay, so once she was attacked by acid uh, uh, from someone by someone, so she could have gone wrong. She could have gone rogue. But what she did after recovering from this attack, she started working for acid attack victims. So this is how you can see that past is a permanent dimension. No doubt, it changes your dimension. It changes your viewpoint. It changes your human conscious and values. But that depends from person to person whether you are going into right direction after that past, or you are going into a wrong direction. So this is how you have to devise two different approaches, where past has been a positive approach for your present and past has been a negative approach for your present. Again, this essay will also come up in a exemplification format. I'll be supplying you this sheet as well, so you can read it. Only thing which lies upon here is exemplification. You have to exemplify time and again, and then you have to come up with various examples. Clear? Any doubt? I'll be giving you this sheet so that you can read it properly. Any doubt?
Sir, can you explain it little more, sir, regarding
Which
this
one?
topic? Can you explain it little more regarding this topic, sir?
Which one you're talking? The past?
The same one, sir, which
Okay.
you are talking of.
Okay. Let us discuss in detail. The past is a permanent dimension. So let us see. In one thing, what you can do is, let me bring up one slide over here. The topic says the past is a permanent dimension of human conscious and values. Now, first ask the question to yourself whether the past is a permanent dimension of human conscious and values. Is it so? Is it so? Anyone? Does your past affects your present and future?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, how come? Any example? Any example? Let us see.
Like road accidents, which make us to be careful next time.
Exactly. Okay. Anything permanent in nature? What happened? Over here, we can also take example of two persons. We have discussed, I guess. One is Burhan Wani. Okay, what happened? His past was not it was not very good with the Indian army. Okay, he faced certain kinds of violence. He faced certain kind of, you can say, issues with Indian army when he was a school going kid or a college going kid. So what his past taught him, that his past left a permanent dimension on his human conscious and values. That Burhan Wani, rather than doing something else, he basically he basically took a revenge from Indian army or from the Indian state, and he turned to be a terrorist because his past never gave him, though it was a permanent dimension upon his mind, but it never gave him a right kind of attitude. So the wrong past sometimes gives you wrong kind of attitude, and this is where a person like Burhan Wani was born. Okay, this is where he was born, that he had faced so much of humiliation, he has faced so much of violence if from the Indian army, and ultimately he, as a result, started perpetrating that violence, committing that violence upon the state of India. He wanted to take revenge. He became a revengeful person and he wanted to take revenge from government of India or from the state of India. Whereas on the other side, we have also discussed the issue of Lieutenant Umar Fayaz. He also faced the same fate. He also had the same past where he was also once scolded, once frisked, once he was basically beaten up by the Indian army personnel. But that also put a permanent dimension on his mind that I want to be an army officer, but not like this person. He is a very bad guy. I'll also become army officer and I'll serve the nation. So his human conscious and value system were basically, they went in the right direction, and he started working from that day only. He started dreaming and working for joining Indian army, and once he joined Indian army, he basically at age of 25, 26 was able to kill so many terrorists in the valley, and ultimately he got killed later on. That is a different story, but his past basically gave him a permanent direction. But that permanent direction or dimension shaped his human conscience and values. Whereas in case of Burhan Wani, that he was not able to shape his value system. In fact, that past gave him more vices. Same is the case of Lakshmi. We were talking about a female who was once attacked by the acid. She was one attacked by the acid. Rather than taking a revenge, she could have also thrown the acid on that person. That is a revenge. She basically started working for the upliftment of the acid attack victims, and she established an NGO who's till date working for the acid attack victims in the country. Got it now? So this is how this essay has two dimensions in nature. Clear? Yes, exactly. Malala Yousafzai you have. Then there are so many people. This is what I'm saying. Most of the examples you have to put. So these kinds of essays, what they will be doing is, let us see that question again. That will give you much clarity. These kinds of topics, how you have to write is remains the question again. How you have to move forward. So that is a question here. How you have to proceed. So proceeding is, the past is a permanent dimension of human conscience and value. This is the topic. First thing is, you can start with an anecdote. As I have told you, two anecdotes, two contradicting. On one side, you had a person where everything goes positive. Then you have a person where everything has gone gone negative. So two kinds of persons you can discuss over here in introduction only. This is how your introduction should look like. Another thing is you have to mention this quotation. You have to give a brief idea about this quotation, what this topic is talking about. In just 40 words, try to paraphrase or try to explain this quotation. Then step by step take examples of as a permanent dimension where human conscious and values have been given, as a dimension where it has not been given, where only vices have been created. Okay, so there you have so many examples where past is a permanent dimension. In case of COVID also, let us say if we could have learned from any of the earlier crisis, we could have done well this time. Okay, so this is how you can see that past remains a permanent dimension. If someone has been contracted with COVID, now that person is basically taking all the precautions. Why earlier he was not taking any of the precaution? Because he never had that kind of permanent dimension. Okay, so something has now changed his way of acting and way of projecting himself. Clear? Any doubt?
No, sir.
Will you be able to write this now? So this is your second assignment. So you have to submit the assignment. Please make sure, because I'll be happy to correct them provided you submit them. Then let us move to another philosophical topic.
How do we submit?
I'll just share my number so you can WhatsApp me over there. Then there's another topic, all is well that ends well. All is well that ends well. How you are going to attempt this? Anyone?
We can mention some crisis and then how something positive came from that crisis.
Okay. Any example?
Like how say polio led to say vaccines or something like that. And some disease led to vaccine something.
Okay. Look, this topic also has two dimensions. All is well that ends well. No, all is not well that ends well. If I say like this, if I reframe the question, all is not well that ends well. All is not well that ends well. Then what you are going to write? Even if one side of the story has been given in a topic, you have to write both sides of the story. One side of the story says that means are important. Sorry, ends are important. The question says ends are important. All is well that ends well. If you have reached your destination, whether you have cheated, let us say Safir Karim would have become IS. He wouldn't have got caught. So all is well that ends well. This is what we say. Whereas Gandhi used to say no. Even if you have attained the ends, but your means were not right, that is not happy ending, I would say. Okay, so one is all is well that ends well, all is not well that ends well. So that depends upon what kind of means you are taking. So this is how you can start your essay, and you can frame two different quotations. There is one famous you can say Gandhi's childhood story. If I would have, I had shared with you that once upon a time Gandhi was in class fifth, and there was some kind of school inspector inspecting them, inspecting the school. There was a person inspecting the school, and Gandhi, the classroom students were asked to solve one mathematical problem. Gandhi had no idea of mathematics. He was very poor in mathematics, so he was not able to solve that problem. So the class teacher came to Gandhi and he asked Gandhi, "Why don't you cheat from the other slate? Why are you sitting idle? Because ultimately you are going to be suspended from the school. It will not be my fault. It will be your fault. I will say, I have taught this guy many times and he is not able to solve it. This is not my problem. When everyone in the class is solving it, why aren't you solving it?" Why don't you cheat it? Gandhi replies, look, sir, today I'll cheat. I might pass, but tomorrow I have to write myself. Take an examination, I have to write myself, so I will not cheat. For me, ends matter and not the means. For me, means matter. Automatically, I have this concept in mind. If right means are adopted, right end can be met, and this is how Gandhi chose not to cheat. Okay, so this is how you can see. For him, Gandhi would have also said, okay, I have also passed the examination, so all is well that ends well. On the other side, you can talk about Safir Karim. Okay, Safir Karim would have got passed. He wouldn't have got caught. He would have got passed with that cheating methodology only. But ultimately, there would have been some kind of grief in his mind, some kind of fear on the back of his mind that someday I might get caught, because that is always a situation. You get paid back for your karma. So this is what is the idea of all is well that ends well. Same was the issue with Subhash Chandra Bose and Gandhi. They had the same problem. Gandhi wanted, we have to fight this battle, we have to fight this battle of independence in a very right manner. Subhash Chandra Bose had this idea that no, ahimsa will not lead us anywhere. We have to collude, we have to do an alliance with Japanese forces, and we have to ditch the British forces, and we have to kill Indians also. We have to kill anyone who is coming in the line of duty. So this is how you can see, despite of two different perspectives, Gandhi was like, no, if we will fight, if we will achieve independence like this, it will not be a solution. Same was Gandhi versus Bhagat Singh. Bhagat Singh wanted that we should attain victory by throwing bombs on parliament. Gandhi was like, my child, this is not the way. Because ultimately, let us say, even if we'll get independence, people in the country will get to know that we have got independence by throwing bombs in the parliament. And whenever there will be further crisis in the country, people will start throwing bombs in the parliament. Now, what you are doing, because you have seen Gandhi ji, he was always on fast. He was also always on dharna. So now country is also doing dharna. So this is how Gandhi said that if you'll have the right means, that will always attain, that will always help you to achieve the right end, and that will always have a long lasting impact on the people. If you'll achieve wrong means, you might achieve right ends, but that will also have long lasting impact on the nation. So as you can see, Gandhi did it through dharna. Gandhi did it through satyagrah. Today also, whenever there is some kind of crisis, we sit in front of Jantar Mantar, we protest in front of Parliament, we protest in front of various places just to make sure that our voice is heard, rather than throwing bombs the way the youth of that time did. Okay, so we'll not criticize anyone, but we will say the way youth of that time, immature youth of that time did. Getting it? So this is how there is a there are dual perspective. All is well that ends well, but all is not well that ends well. That depends upon what kind of means we are using. So here also you have many examples. You have example of Raja Harishchandra. He was a person who had an obsession with truth. Come what may, come what will happen, I will always speak the truth. So this is what his obsession was with truth. Okay, so here you can, I'll be giving you this uh, draft as well, so you can read it. So here you can divide the essay into a Machiavellian perspective. If you're not aware of Machiavelli, that means you just have to justify your means to achieve the ends. If ends are right, means are no bad at all. Then you have to have a Kantian perspective, that it is an end in itself. You need to have right means to achieve the right ends. Only then we can say we have a justified life. So this you must have seen in your ethics as well. And then Gandhi's perspective, both are important. Come what may, Kantian perspective, Gandhi perspective, both are important. Without right means, you can never achieve right ends. And then there is a Friedrich Nietzsche perspective of nihilism, idea of moral nihilism. He says nothing is right, nothing is wrong. Situation will tell. If situation is in our favor, everything is right. Situation is not favoring us, everything is wrong. So this is what moral nihilism, the concept of nihilism tells us, that nothing is right, nothing is wrong. Circumstances will decide what is right, what is wrong. If we'll have a preconceived notion, this is right, this is wrong, we are never going to achieve the end. So this is what Nietzsche used to tell us. You can say in case of Abraham Lincoln, if you correctly remember, the horse trading of for passing that black rights bill in US United States Congress. So at that time in 17th century, Mr. Abraham Lincoln, he basically bought MPs and he basically bought votes. Okay. So you can say this is horse trading, this is wrong, but Nihilist says at that point of time this was the only solution to provide the benefit to a greater community of blacks. If Mr. Abraham Lincoln wouldn't have come up with this idea of buying and selling of votes, he would have never achieved, the USA would have never achieved equality laws. Okay, so that depends. So this is what nihilism says, that ultimate happening or ultimate end will decide whether means were right or they were wrong. Wrong means right. If wrong means help you achieve the right, so ultimately that is a right. Sorry, right end, then that is a right. Clear? Any doubt?
No, sir.
Okay, so there's a quotation also I've given over here. Mr. Martin Luther has said there are in fact 1,000 ways to achieve one single end, and it is up to you whether you use the noble means or the wrong means. So this is how it can be concluded. Philosophical essays need to have some kind of quotations because they are this is how you can aptly wind up them. This is the right way to wind them up. Clear? Then there's another topic. This is again philosophical essay. That passion is the mob of the man that commits a riot upon its reason. Passion is the mob of the man that commits a riot upon its reason. So before writing down, so I'll first explain what it is about. It is saying a human has a passion. Okay, it is a mob of the man. Usually, passion sometimes overpowers you. Passion sometimes leads you in your right direction. So that depends upon you, that whether your passion is overpowering you. So there'll be a right upon your reason. When I say right upon your reason, that means you are not able to think of the circumstances. You just like Hitler, he was so insane of conquering everything. He was so insane in giving Nazis the best kind of life. He was so insane in doing the mass in using the Nuremberg laws, or in implementing various kinds of gas chambers for the Jews, that his reason got, you can say it got compromised by his passion. So there's passion, there's enthusiasm. One passion and enthusiasm basically gives you reason as well. So you tend to do the right thing. You tend to achieve the right thing. On the other side, you get so much mesmerized by this passion that you forget what you are and who you are, and you start committing the wrongs. So that leads you nowhere. Okay, so you can see in the story of Hitler, the passion for supremacy of his race made him to commit the deadliest actions since in the human history. On the other side, Gandhi's passion to practice non-violence made a world a better place to live. Okay, so this is how, what is passion? So passion is nothing but it is interchangeable with determination, conviction, love. Passion is a strong desire which basically helps human to achieve the objectives. So this is how passion basically takes you to the right direction. But as I say, here you can again quote that Safir Karim example. He had a passion of becoming IAS, but through wrong means. Then you have a passion. There is another person, let us say, any person who belongs to a poor family. You might have seen many cases that a son of a vegetable seller, son of a rickshaw puller got into services. So this is on one side you have a passion of the right thing, and you did it in a right manner. Then you had a passion of doing things, but your reason got somehow compromised. So you can see Alexander had a passion, Marco Polo had a passion, Columbus, Chandragupta Maurya, Akbar, Bhagat Singh, Gandhi, Ambedkar, APJ. So all famous personalities. Now these are the people who have right kind of passion, okay, to achieve something. Though Alexander can be put in both positive and negative, but Marco Polo had a passion of exploring the world. Columbus, passion of exploring the world, and ultimately he exploded.
Though Columbus, and you can also say in case of Columbus also, that he went to America and he committed various sins upon the Aboriginals. So that is something different, but he had a passion too. If you'll see his geographical passion or passion to explore the world, he actually explored many continents. Okay, so this is how you can see. Then Bhagat Singh had a passion, Akbar had a passion of harmonious society, Gandhi had a passion, Ambedkar had a passion of giving a constitutional perspective to the country, and he basically established a right kind of constitution which was required by the country. Famous sports personalities, they had a passion. Milkha Singh, then you have Dhyan Chand. So all the sports personalities, starting from 1950s till date, they had a right kind of passion. Then you have Wright brothers, Macaroni, Edison, they had a passion. Einstein had a passion. So they all had a passion, and they gave right kind of direction to the world. And their passion basically gave right kind of direction to their invention and to the world. On the other side, you had negative people as well. Yahya Khan, his only goal was to attack India. That's it, destabilize India. He had a passion of destabilizing India, and ultimately, what happened? He made Pakistan a living hell. Pakistan is a living hell these days. A.Q. Khan made Pakistan a living hell. Muhammad Ghori, Ghazni, British Empire. Okay, they all had negative. Germany, we have already discussed. China, current regime. Pakistan, current regime. Then you had various sports persons who have been caught in doping case, anti-doping case. So Seema Punia, Narsingh Yadav. So these are famous examples who have caught in the doping cases. So these, they had passion of winning the sports, but ultimately what the means they acquired, they were negative. So what conclusion will be? Conclusion will be how you have to, again here it will come, that you have to use the right kind of emotions. Here the idea of your emotional intelligence comes. You can quote various uh, IS officers as well over here. Just out of their passion, they got entangled into corruption activities. Out of their passion, they made their district a beautiful district. They have implemented all the developmental activities. They have basically successfully implemented them. So this is how positive passion inspires you, negative passions drowns you. Clear? Any doubt?
No, sir.
Okay. Then there is another topic. In a gentle way, you can shake the word. Again, this is again is a two-dimensional. In a gentle way, to you can shake the word. Gandhi is an act example. But sometimes you have to have a non-gentle perspective as well. So in a gentle way, you can shake the word, no doubt to this. So what why I'm telling you these kinds of questions, because these questions seems to be singular approach, seems to be a one-sided approach, but they can be written in multi-dimension. In a gentle way, you can shake the word yes, but many times this gentle way doesn't help. Okay, so you have to give both the aspects. Gandhi's tour to South Africa, non-violence, gentle way, he shook the word. Ashoka, post Kalinga War, gentle way, he shake the word. But many times you have to have a non-gentle approach as well. Sorry, non-gentle, where you can say in case of Gandhi, there was a quit India movement as well. After 1942, people turned violent. They started fighting with Britishers. They started putting British forces. They started the Indian who were in British forces. They also started fighting with the Britishers only. So this is how there was a proper fight, and in a non-gentle way, they took independence. So exemplification of gentle way, Christ, Buddhist, Mahavira, then you have Buddha, Bhakti movement, Akbar, moderates in Indian movement, independence movement, sorry, Chipko Andolan, Anna Hazare, Martin Luther King Jr., Nelson Mandela, Ramabai Ranade, Socrates, Copernicus. So these are many examples are there who have changed the world in a very gentle manner. Okay, so what they have preached the ideas to the people, and they are changing the world. But it is not the only approach that will help. Many times you need to take revolutionary approach as well. That is also required. Quit India movement, do or die situation. So Chinese civil rights movement, they started fighting with the government. French Revolution was a violent revolution. Then you had that Civil War of Britain, which you say glorious revolution. That was again very violent revolution. So after that, Britain basically was able to separate religion from church from state, and ultimately a scientific thought process was invoked in the people. of the Britain. Then freedom for independence in various countries. So this is how you have to do in a gentle, non-gentle. Environment issues can be done in a gentle manner, sometimes in a non-gentle manner. Earth hour, changes in consumption pattern, attitudinal change, cleanliness, poverty, water conservation, gentle manner, non-gentle manner. Gentle manner is attitudinal change. Non-gentle manner is, like you can say, uh, uh, applying penalties, invoking penalties. COVID, gentle manner, where earlier government requested wear mask. Non-gentle manner, if you are not wearing mask, 2,000 rupees is the fine. So sometimes one approach is required, sometimes another, and sometimes there are combination of approaches which is required. Clear? Any doubt? Any doubt?
No, sir.
Okay, so what we'll be doing here, I guess we'll be requiring one more class because we haven't took break. So we'll be discussing few more philosophical essays, and now these essays will be from the previous years, which have been asked. So I have discussed these topics just to give a glance so that you can understand what has been asked. Okay, so we'll be meeting, I guess, tomorrow, day after tomorrow. I'll ask the team. I'll ask Shinaz sir over there that how it can be planned. So there'll be another 2 hour session in which I'll be covering the leftover philosophical topics. Apart from that, I'll be covering the miscellaneous topics like social media, farming, and environment. These 3-4 topics are to be covered. Clear? In case if you have any doubt, so I'll give you my number. So you can text me over there and you can submit your essays, the assignments which I have given you on this WhatsApp number. Okay, it is 8010 140 387.
Sir, can you repeat the number once again?
Yeah, 8010
Okay.
140 387. I'm typing it as well, the chat. Clear? So I guess there is no doubt now. In case if you have any doubt, you can discuss with me on this number as well. So we'll be discussing a few topics from 2015, 16, 17, and 18 in next class. Apart from that, we'll be discussing topic on farming, topic on social media, because that is again can be asked. Last year there was journalism, yellow journalism. This year it can be social media. Okay, so take care everyone. See you in next class.
Sir, one more thing, sir.
Yeah, please.
Sir, from where can I get this PDF, sir?
PDFs I'll be sending to Shinaz sir, so he can supply you. You can ask from him. So just after class, I'll be supplying these PDFs to him, and you can ask from him.
Okay, sir.
I guess that will be shared in your group. I guess once I'll send them, they'll automatically share there.
Okay, sir.
Okay. You take care, everyone. See you next class. Till then, keep writing essays to submit your essays. Okay, that is very much important. Because before writing, without writing, things are not going to fall in your favor. You have to write it. Writing is a must approach in essay. We can discuss n number of topics. We can discuss as many topics as you want, but that is not going to help you. To be very open. Okay, you have to write it yourself. Clear? Okay. See you, everyone. Take care.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.